Welcome to the Big Cocker Show, brought to you by the Purple Rain Podcast. Now it's time for Sweden. Now it's time for Sweden. I'm going to talk about their coaching staff, but we do need to clear something up regarding Sweden's coaching staff, which I'm going to let Lady do. We just cleared this up literally last night as we get ready to record this edition. So, Lady, I'm now going to hand it over to you. Thank you, George. So back in October, so roughly after the schedules got released for this season, Sweden announced that they would be making a huge, significant coaching change for 2026. And it was a bit confusing, like, was this for, effective immediately, so right now, or was it going to be sort of at the end of the Olympic cycle? Well, we now have got that cleared up. Yep. So here's the situation. So for Milan, they are going to be coached by their current coach, Ulf Lundberg. Yep, we're going to come on to in a moment. Yeah, that's who's going to be coaching for the team in Milan. But after Milan's done, we will have a brand new coach in for Sweden, who we are so excited about. Honestly, they've got a great legend here. Yeah, so after Milan-Cortina, Sweden will then be coached by Erika Holst, who is quite the legend in the game for Sweden. She is. We can talk more about her when we get to Worlds. Yeah, at the end of the year. Yeah, we talk about that. Yeah, I think Sweden are going to be. I think they're going to be ones to watch out for in Worlds, because Erika, she's just such a brilliant player. She's got that rich history. She knows what it takes to win. So I think Sweden's got a really good, worthy heir apparent waiting in the wings, ready to take over the role. Do we know when roughly she's going to be taking? I think roughly she's going to be taking over from May. So pretty much when we get to the World Cup playoffs, that will be when she will then take over the helm, and her first big tournament with the national team of Sweden as their coach will, of course, be the World Championships in Denmark, which, of course, as we all know, is only just 20 minutes down the road. It's a quick 20-minute drive from Malmö to Copenhagen. Even though the World Championships are not going to be in Copenhagen. They're in cities that you can't pronounce. Well, with Denmark being the country it is, I'm surprised there are other cities apart from Copenhagen in there. So let's be honest. So that's the situation. Yeah, so it's Ulf Lundberg for Milan, and then after Milan, Erika Holst will then take in. So we can talk more about her in the run up to Worlds later on in the year, maybe over the summer. But so excited, right? For that, very excited about that. She's a brilliant player, and she's going to do wonders. So, with that in mind, does our opinion about how we think Sweden will do Milan, does that change a bit, or is it just like... Well, it's tricky with Sweden, because Sweden been every single Olympics. I can bring that to my history. Yeah, you carry your point. So, Sweden been every single Olympics, right? And since the 2000s, since the noughties, they haven't really had that much success. Yeah, because if we look at their tournament history, they actually, in the 2000s, they actually did win a couple of medals, in fact. And in fact, in 2002... Let's bring it up. Yeah, so in 2002, they won the bronze medal. Then, of course, in 2006, they won the silver medal, losing to Canada in the final. So, yeah, so this year is 20 years since that infamous Olympics when Sweden knocked out the US to get to the finals, and then obviously lost to Canada in the finals, and US won bronze. But since then, they haven't really got back to those sort of dizzy heights. In 2010, they came in 4th place, so they did actually get to the medal match, but missed out there. Same again in 2014, and that, of course, when they lost to Switzerland. And then in 2018, they came in 7th place, and then most recently in 2022, they came in 8th place. And if you look at the World Championships, they haven't really fared that well either. If we go between 2010 to now, so 2011 5th and 2012 5th place, 2013 7th place, 2015 5th place, same again 2016, in 2017 6th place. They got relegated in 2019. Yes, relegated. They finished in 9th place and were relegated to Division 1A. Then obviously came back up in 2022. You could argue that's thanks to the pandemic, meaning that you could do competitions in 2020 or 2021. So the Olympics kind of saved Sweden from having to play in the Division 1A. 2022, 7th place. 2023, 6th place. Then 2024, 7th place. And 2025, 6th place, where of course they played Switzerland in that infamous 5th place match where Switzerland beat Sweden. Yeah, you jinxed Sweden in last year's World, you really did. What? I just didn't get why Sweden are in the top, right in Group A, when it was clearly they were knocking the competition in Group B out the water. Yeah, but it's different it's different though, because in Group A you got more of the top dogs. And Switzerland. Oh, are we going to have to put up with this in February? Oh, for God's sake, I can't. If he's going to do that, I'm not Bob. I'm not going to be able to cope. No, come on. Well, they only got one guy in Prague. Yeah, well, that's different. Is it? Well, we'll see. We will see in a month's time. Yes, they haven't really managed to get back to those dizzy heights of the 2000s when they were actually being that team that we think Finland and Czech are going to be, which would be basically, threatening the North American dynasty of yeah. Yeah, because it's interesting because in the 2000s, Sweden was that team in the women's game where you would think would be the ones trying to sort of challenge both the US and Canada for the gold. Now, of course, they successfully did it in 2006 because, of course, obviously they knocked out the US to get to the finals. But if you're going to go against Canada, no. I think back in those days, it would have been easier to have taken on US in the final, not Canada, because the US was still not really finding much success in terms of the Olympics. It was because Canada dominated the 2000s. After the first games in 1998, it was literally Canada, because obviously the US won gold in 1998. The first time women's hockey competed there, at the Olympics, and then Canada won this. What was it? 4 Olympics in a row. 02, 06, 10. Yeah, 4 in a row where they got the gold. So, it's just, you think Sweden should be that team that, because they are a power nation, they've got their own league. Yes, they do. The SDHL, which you can actually, if you're interested, you can actually go and stream SDHL games on YouTube. They have followed in the They have followed in the footsteps of the PDHL this season, and they have streamed all their games on YouTube. We, in the early stages of that season, did try. We tried a little bit, but I just felt right. For me, when it comes now, I've got no problem watching things in other languages. I've done it for how many years now? When was my first? What year is my first Magic Festivalum? Sarah Nielsen, 2014. So Copenhagen. Right. So my first Magic Festivalum was 2014, and since then I've always watched Magic Festivalum, and of course that's in Swedish, no problem. So I don't have a problem watching entertainment programs in other languages, but when it comes to sporty events, I do need to watch them in English because I need to understand what's going on. And I can't just simply rely on the crowd. Particularly if I want to back a particular team. So we did try it. Because although I love Sweden, I would like to maybe go to Sweden one day still. I did try it, but we just thought, nah, we couldn't do it. Nah, no. But if you feel like you have got the stamina to go and watch hockey in Swedish, please do. It's the SDHL YouTube channel. That's where you can go. So yeah, so you can. Yeah, so there you go. So look at us. I believe you're following in our footsteps. Yeah, so you can go like you want. We tried it, but we just thought, no, it's not really doing it for us. We gave it a go. We gave it a go. Yeah. So Sweden kind of feels, should, as you're saying, but you're saying, Sweden should be conceived as a team that should be wanting to throttle the US and Canada. Because now that the PHL, the gap is going to close. Yeah, the gap will close. And it won't be this cycle, but maybe the next cycle, the one after that, that is when you start to look and think, okay, which of these teams is ready to throttle the top dogs? Which of those teams? Now, technically, we should be saying it's Sweden. But more realistically, it's either going to be Finland or it's going to be Czechia. One of those two. I would put more money on Czechia because I trust that program more than I trust the Finnish program, especially with what happened with that coaching pick. Oh, God. Brace yourselves. I would not be surprised if Czechia finishes above Finland in the groups. I would not be surprised. That could help Czechia. But we'll see. Yeah. So, Ulf Lundberg, he's been with the team since 2020. Also, it's actually not long. No, and he's now, this is his Swansong. Yeah, so Milan-Cortina is indeed his Swansong with the national team. It's going to be his final tournament with the national team. He's not really managed to find that much success, has he? No. He's not really had that much success. Because we just gone there. Sweden have been sort of 7th, 8th in the last in the last couple of World Championships, and of course also in the last couple of Olympics. Right, if you look at the last Olympics, they just went straight out of the knockouts, straight out of the quarterfinals. Yeah, just a bit bizarre, isn't it? Yeah. And one prior to that, same, but would be one place better. So Sweden's gone down trajectory, because in 2018 it was 7th, in Pyeongchang it was 7th, and then Beijing in the last case were down 8th. So it's almost like they're going on a downward spiral. Yeah. It's like, what? It's like, oh my god. I do, though, look at Sweden and think, this is a team that should be competitive. There'll probably be a couple of PHL players who will recognise on that roster. But then again, it would surprise me if we see what happened in Prague happen again, where, as you said, boy, Sweden looked like a team that should be in Group A because they just wiped the floor with everyone, and then you get to the knockout stages, they just falter. I was quite surprised that Sweden didn't do as well because in the qualifiers in Prague, they were up against Finland. And me and you, George, both agreed, of all the quarterfinals, that was the more evenly matched one. Yeah, because you've got two Scandinavian powerhouses going head-to-head. Yeah. They've obviously been very competitive on the men's side over the years. Yeah, so this should be a good game. But actually, it wasn't as competitive as we both thought it was going to be, and Sweden didn't have that competitive edge that we saw them have in the group stages. Yeah, and that's obviously what let them down. And then obviously it completely let them down in the 5th match. Obviously, as you look at that 5th place match, it's Switzerland and it's Sweden. A betting man over here. I don't gamble. He does the horses. And who's going to bring that up? I don't do the gambling. I don't know. I do not do gambling. You pick horses to back. I pick the horses to back. I don't bet money on them. Alright, so let's get that straight. Yes, I do watch the horses on ITV, but I do not actually do the actual betting. Alright? Okay. But the fun stop, kids. Let's make that clear. But you looked at that and you thought, right, it's pretty obvious it's going to win that, isn't it? Where I did think Sweden would win that. Because when you two said to me, right, this is who's in the 5th place match, I thought, right, that's easy, isn't it? Because obviously Switzerland scored 1 goal groups. And then, yeah, it was like, rip. It was like, rip. Yeah, a bit of a shock. I think me and Lenny were more shocked at that result because Switzerland had only got one goal in the group stage. They were absolutely, they were poor. It was a poor show for Switzerland. So, as Sweden just walked Group B, it was like, what the hell? But it's a good healthy reminder that when it comes to the women's game, anybody can beat anybody on any given night. Yep. Absolutely. We see the PHL, we're seeing it in Worlds, and we probably are going to see it at the Olympics, particularly in a month's time, because this is going to be the most super competitive games ever, because the PHL presence is going to be there. So, you need to be ready on night one of your first group match. You need to be ready on night one, because otherwise you're gonna get obliterated. You're gonna get annihilated. So yeah. But what do we feel about all of them? What are we feeling going into Milan? What do we feel? How do we feel? Because I just I personally feel this is a team that should at the very least get to a medals match. They should easily be able to put themselves in contention to go to a medals match. So basically get to the semi-finals. Yeah, because that's how you do it. Because that is how you guarantee yourself in a medals match. If you get to the semi-finals, that's how you do it. Yeah, because if you go to the semi-finals, you know you're going to go to a medal match. It's just, is it going to be one you want to be in, or is one you don't want to be in? Yeah. So, because every athlete does not want to play the bronze match, but I'm not. And this is why you could never be an athlete, because you would look at the bronze medal match, yay, great, a chance to win a medal! Everyone's like, it's not the. So, at least get to go on the podium, at least get to take your flag off on the rafters. Yeah, but listen to someone else's anthem. Probably go Canada. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so I kind of feel this team should aim. We know France has said their aim is to get quarterfinals. I think Sweden's aim should be semi-finals. They're capable of it. They are capable of it, and I feel like with Ulf Lundberg in charge, I think he could potentially coach a good roster to the semi-finals. It's just going to be how do they play in the knockout stage. I think how Sweden fares in the knockout stage is going to be more critical than the group stage, because we just know they're going to walk that group. Yeah. I'm not going to try and argue it. We know they're going to walk that group. So it all comes down to who they're going to get in Group A. Yeah. It probably will likely come down to that. And if they can get an opponent that might be favourable. But we all thought we had a favourable opponent in Prague, and then it was not the case. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. What do you reckon, lady? I think that Sweden should be someone you need to keep a very close eye on in Group B. I think if anybody from Group B is going to have a good chance at medals, it's going to be Sweden. Because Italy and France are pretty much just, no, I'm writing them off now. Well, France is only there to be experienced. The roster's there for experience, ready for their home games in 4 years from now. Italy probably not going to have that much opportunity. Japan could do. Germany, yeah. We don't have faith in Germany. Yeah. So if anyone from Group B is going to have a good chance to get to a medals match, it's going to be Sweden. The question is, how well they play the group stages could depend on how well who they get in the knockout stages. If they don't get a favourable opponent in the quarterfinals, then I think all hope of that medal is gone. Because let's face it, US and Canada would wipe the floor with them. Finland, we know, could take them down. Czechia and Switzerland would be the ones that you'd look at that and think they're more likely to throttle. So it all depends on that. I think I've got no problems with what Sweden's done. I think it's a great decision. You know, I mean, it's been a bit odd that it's going to be a Swansong. Yeah. Well, we've got quite a lot of coaches who are going to go to Milan for their first Olympics. Yeah, feels a bit weird. We've got somebody here who's like, this is his last games. He'll probably get mentioned a couple of times on the broadcast, like, oh yeah, this is Ulf Lundberg. He's been with the team for 6 years. This is his last. That's gonna be that's a bit like awkward. Particularly with other teams who are definitely competing with coaches that are going to be up for the first time. But yeah, so I just feel. Yeah, I think it's good. It's a good decision for Sweden. You know, I think he hasn't done actually that bad with the team. That's the thing. I know the record in previous World Championships and also Beijing doesn't really reflect that. But it's so hard when you are in a group where you're fielding against teams that you know you can beat easily, and then you have to then go to the knockout stages. Yeah, and you don't have to. This is what I'm loving about the new format for the World Championships. Because the World Championships are now going to have balanced groups, it means that teams like Sweden, who don't normally get a chance to go up against teams that are more competitive than them until the knockouts, they're going to have that chance. Yeah, because chances are, when we get to the groups, I'm going to look at this in the spring. Because obviously after the World Cup finals, we're going to do a person explain everything about how it's going to work in Denmark. And by that, we might have the groups. Yeah. Chances are, Sweden could actually be in a group where they have one or at least one, maybe two teams that they wouldn't normally see, but they will do. And that's going to make it really more competitive, more interesting. And that can hopefully give Sweden the experience they'll need if they want to be seen as this potential team that could maybe one day take, say, Switzerland's place. Because I don't see Czechia losing that place in the top group without a fight. Yeah, so... yeah, you've got high hopes for Czechia. I think Czechia is somebody who you should not be sleeping on. I'm going to say it. Do not sleep on Czechia. Don't sleep on Czechia. That's what I'm going to say. Okay? I think Czechia is on the rise. That program could do really some major damage. We saw how close they got last year to a bronze. They got so close on the home soil, winning bronze. But unfortunately, they just couldn't play well in the second half of that game as they did in the first half. And remember, in the semi-finals, they actually had a 1-0 lead over the US after the first intermission. And it was a shock. It was a shock. Me and you, we just were not ready for that. No, because I think we just looked at it and thought, okay, we're gonna do easy. Canada's breeze in their semi. So it's like, what are we gonna do? Yeah, we were not prepared for that in the same far as last year in Prague. No, so Czechia is definitely somebody who I think is on the rise, and I would say, do not sleep on Czechia. So, but if we're looking at who could potentially be replaced by Sweden in Group A in, say, maybe 5 years' time, it's probably going to be Switzerland. Yeah, so, yeah. But, again, we don't know. We just don't know. Because obviously, World Championships are different compared to Olympics. You know, things can change more quickly, as we always see each year. Teams can get promoted 1 year and get relegated the next. So we saw obviously last year's championships, all the 2 teams got promoted in 24, get relegated back in 2025. Yeah, so... But it's going to be really exciting in 2020 with this year, with the World Championships, with the way it's done. As I say, Lady and me, we will be covering on that at the conclusion of the World Cup finals. We've got 2 important episodes to do, but one of the worlds at that point. Obviously, the one will explain how the top tier is going to work this year. Also going to recap Division 1A, because that will still be taking place in April. And by that point, we will know which 2 teams from Division 1A have promotion to the top tier for 2027's top division tournament in Quebec. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing after the World Cup finals, because the Division 1A Championship is from the 12th to the 18th of April. It's at the at the very thick end of the regular season. That's why Mio said, let's wait until after the World Cup's been handed out, and then we do that. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Yeah. Depending on what happens with drafts and all that, it might be in the summer. But it's fine. That's fine. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, so we're going to wait till after what was that. Yeah. But Sweden, I think, I'm really excited. I'm excited to see how Sweden's going to compete this time round. I think they could do better than they did last time, because Beijing, they came in 8th place. They got knocked out in the quarterfinals despite doing quite well in the groups. And this is a story we've seen time and time again from Sweden. They do well in the group stages, but when it comes to the knockouts, they just aren't able to match those teams. And I think the fact that the world's now going to be what they are, that's really going to help teams like Sweden when we get to the French Alps. Yeah, because when we get to the French Alps, we'll have had probably at least 4... Yeah, 26, 27, 28... Yeah, 4 World Championships with this new format under the belt. Sweden will have had plenty of opportunities to refine their playing style. So it would not surprise me if the French Alps we see a more competitive Sweden than we have done in the last sort of 16 years. Yeah, so... Yeah, the 2030s could be when Sweden regains that magic they had in 2002, 2006, and it's them and Czechia, along with Finland, who all try to go and be the ones right. Which of us three is going to be the ones going to try and take down the top dogs? Yeah, because it could happen. Yeah. If it doesn't happen in the French Alps, it will definitely happen in Salt Lake. Because by the time we get to Salt Lake, and I can't believe I'm about to say this, by the time we get to Salt Lake City, we will have had a full decade of the PHL. I know, right? Woody la. And George will be pushing 40. I have no problem with 40s! Oh, sorry, no, she's 50, she's not looking forward to. Jordan's always said he's looking forward to his 40s. Well, I don't see the problem with 40. I feel like 40 is the new 30s. You know, like a lot of people say, 30 is the new 20. Not to believe that. I kind of feel like 40 is kind of like the new 30. So I've got no problem. I feel like I can handle my 40s. It's my 50s. It's once I hit 50. So once I hit 50, that's when it all then starts to fall to pieces. All right. So I've got 20 years left. I've got 2 years left, and then I hit me 20 years, and it's just downhill from then. All right. Just let me enjoy our prime. I still want to wear shit. But I look for the 40s. But yeah, that'd be crazy. We get to Salt City. You're right, because it would be a full decade since the first PHL game happened. Yeah, so but I think we need to agree. Sweden could potentially be someone to watch out for, just not this time. It could be the French Alps. If it's not the French Alps, it probably definitely Salt City, because by then, teams like Sweden, teams like Finland, teams like Czechia, they will have had so much experience in their belts, and they'll be like, right, this is it. It's go time. And it's going to be about. It's going to be very interesting. When that time comes, it's going to be very interesting about to see who's going to be that one team that will emerge to take down US and Canada. Because I feel like we're not going to have what we've seen in the men's the last 2 times, where it's like 2 different nations other than US and Canada. We're not going to have that. I think if somebody's going to throttle the women's side, it will always be US and somebody, or Canada and somebody, like what we saw in Turin. Like we saw in Torino, that's how I think it would be. Because we're nowhere near that stage where we can see 2 different women's national teams compete for the gold medal match. We are nowhere near that. That might be after I'm long gone. Okay, but what we could potentially see is what we saw in Torino, where you have, it's either the US and Canada, or against someone else. The question is who that someone else could be. Yeah. So I feel like you've got 3 nations right now, Czechia, Finland, Sweden, in the mix, who are buying their time, waiting for them to strike, and strike when we and Canada least expect it. And you're going to see that happen, because the international gap, it is now going to close. Because we have the PHL, that gap is now going to start narrowing and narrowing and narrowing to the point where you've got 3 other nations who are going to be competing to take on the US and Canada. Because we saw it in 2019. I know that John Stewards can't let 2019's World Championships go, but we saw it in 2019. Yeah, because in 2019, Finland ended Canada's gold-silver streak. Before 2019, Canada had always won either gold or silver. And then 2019, Finland came along and showed, look, it can be done. Yeah, it can be done. Yeah. And of course, that would have been a year after Pyeongchang. Yep. After Jossie the Rock did the dirty. Yep. Yes. You know what? Yeah, the other day I looked up who that was, and it was, as Peter said, it was indeed Ottawa Charges Jocelyn the Rock who committed who committed the ultimate sin of ripping her medal off after she got it. We do what? We might relive that. We might relive that episode. That was I'm surprised that was not in the Olympic Memories article on the Hockey News, because that was a no, she didn't just do that. Oh dear. No, she did not. And we all watched it. Yeah. We all, us 3 and the pack, the rest of the pack, we all watched that medal ceremony, and we were like, oh, did she just do that? Yeah. So, did she just? Oh my god, she just did that. Literally, she goes to had it up, put it around her neck, and as soon as the man goes away, she's like, straight, I'm mopping off. you don't do that! Something to watch out for if we do beat them in Milan. Like, just like, God. But yeah, so it was Jocelyn the Rock. We might relive that. Yeah. Just to remind you. Anyway, yeah. Any final thoughts on Sweden? And that's it. All the coaches done. Yeah, that's it. After all the coaching, this is our last episode to do on the coaching staff, and then we've just got to do rosters. We've got, at the time of recording this, we've got 2 so far. There should be 3 more coming. By the end of next week, we'll be halfway with the rosters. Yeah. US, Canada, Czechia. Yeah. So by that. Because obviously France, Japan will release theirs. We are supposed to be by the end of next week have US, Canada, Czechia. So that'll take us to halfway. And then it's. So this is our last episode on the coaching staff. So, my thoughts. Okay, but I think Sweden have got a very decent coaching staff. I think they are a team that's going to do very, very well in Group B. The question is how will they do Group B? Because it depends. It all depends on what happens in Group A and who ends up getting seeded with the Sweden. That's the way. As I said, if Sweden get a favourable opponent, then they've got a good chance of getting to a males match. If they don't get a favourable opponent, then it will be similar to what happened in both Beijing and Pyeongchang. Okay? Get ready for all Swansong. Yeah, I think it's a great choice. I'm really confident with Sweden's coaching staff. It's just how the pools are going to be, I don't know. Yeah, because I mean the knockouts is going to be where it's going to be really interesting for Sweden. You just know they're going to walk Group B. You just know, yeah. You just know that now. You could easily bet money on that right now, that Sweden will win Group B. It's going to be what happens in Group A. Because we know, of course, everyone Group A goes through regardless. So it's going to be what happens there. Well, it's a good job we've got teams in Group A so far then. I'm really pleased with what Sweden's gone for. I'm really looking forward to how it gels on the ice. And I'm really excited for that. So yeah, so really exciting times ahead.